بزرگترین مشکل ما هم همین بوده. در این 12 قرن یکی گفته آقا، یا مثلا آدم‌های ناپاکی از اون سوی مرزها رفتن، مثلا فرض کنید وسیله پیدا شده تبلیغ کردن برای دشمن. الان من خواهش می‌کنم این اون چنل رو نشون بدید که الان در CNN داره ملا خرازی رو داشت الان.
In order to punish a bunch of terrorists would be legitimate to attack a country.
The West wants Iran on board. The fight in the combat against terrorism has to be done internationally, and therefore the cooperation of an important country like Iran is fundamental.
Can Iran take its own road and still cooperate? Will the mounting refugee crisis force compromise?
Iran has 2 million refugees already. There will be new refugees as well. Certainly they have to rush with assistance to us to help these poor people.
Iran's dilemma on tonight's Q&A.
خب اینم ملا کمال خرازی بود و اینها با وقاحت از اون سو در اون تظاهرات همه شنیدیم که داره میگه مرگ بر آمریکا. هنوز در این روزهایی که میبینیم که همه میگن، از اون ور میگن ما تروریست نیستیم، بن لادنه، و از این سو داره داد میزنه میگه مرگ بر آمریکا. خیلی عجیبه، این خیلی عجیبه. یعنی این دو پهلویی رو که اینها دارن بهش میاندیشن و با دو پهلو بازی، ما نمیدونیم که چگونه میشه که آمریکایی‌ها همه تقصیرها رو گردن بن لادن میندازن و البته میدونیم از کجا آب میخوره، از اینجاها داره آب میخوره، اما روی هم رفته. همین هات بیا حالا دوباره نشونش بدید ببینیم، با اون از اون سو نشون بدید. بله صدا رو بلند کنیم.
Iran television showed these pictures of Iran's spiritual leader lambasting the U.S., asking, how dare you ask us to help you attack a Muslim country? Iran will never help the U.S. or its allies in any attack on Afghanistan. The crowd here responded by shouts of death to America. At the occasion was a meeting with the families of those Iran says were martyrs in the 8-year war with Iraq in the 1980s. Ayatollah Khamenei's hardline speech came as a high-level delegation from the European Union was in Tehran, trying, in vain it now seems, to convince Iran, which is on the State Department's list of states sponsoring terrorism, to change its ways, to join the international effort in the war on terrorism, to demonstrate to others by its support that this is not a war on Islam. He criticized the U.S. President Bush for saying nations are either with the U.S. or against the U.S. He said these statements smacked of arrogance and bullying. We are neither with you nor with terrorists, he said. Iran's moderate president, Mohammad Khatami, has also hardened his position. His early expressions of sympathy with the people of the United States have led to some optimism in the West. It's too early to know how Iranians will react to the speech. Ayatollah Khamenei is the final arbiter of the issues facing the country. He lays down the line, and now this line can herald a good deal of tension here and in the region.
All right, well, joining us now on the telephone is Khosrow Naji. He is calling from Iran's capital. And Khosrow, how much has the public been told about Jack Straw's visit, about all the overtures between the West and Tehran?
Jim, the public have been given the facts, and Iranian television, Iranian radio, and the newspapers are closely following the developments. They're given the main points of the developments, and everyone here knew that Jack Straw and after him a delegation from the European Union came here basically to enlist Iran's support in the international effort against terrorism. Jim?
Many times it has been said that Iran is concerned about the refugee situation on its borders. Well over 1 million refugees there now. What is the economic, the social cost to Iran?
Jim, it's more than 1 million refugees. Several months ago, the Iranian authorities registered the number of Afghan refugees in the country, and they came up with a figure of 2.3 million people. And there's a margin of error of about 20% there, because they think about 20% of Afghan refugees did not register, or they thought if they register they might get into trouble. So we're talking about at least 2.3 million refugees. And Iran, of course, with the economy pretty weakened over the years here, cannot afford this number of refugees. Already it's a burden on the Iranian economy, and now we're getting reports that if there's going to be a war, if there's going to be fighting in Afghanistan, if there's going to be a breakdown of law and order in cities close to the Iranian border, up to 400,000 refugees might come this way. That's why Iran has closed the border, sealed the border, preventing people from coming in. From what I hear from aid agencies is that so far there's not a sizable influx of refugees. Some refugees are getting through, and not through the main crossing points, but through further away from the main crossing points, but not in great numbers. And for the moment, the plan, both by the Iranian authorities and the UN agencies and Iranian non-governmental organizations, the plan is to establish refugee camps within the Afghan territory over the other side of the border, and cater for them there. In fact, we have the Under Secretary General of the UN coming to Iran tomorrow to coordinate the efforts for aiding refugees that might come this way if there's going to be an outbreak of fighting. Jim?
All right. Khosrow reporting to us there from Tehran. Now, our first guest here has a personal perspective to bring to this discussion. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the exiled Shah of Iran. After the death of his father, Mr. Pahlavi studied in the United States. He lives there now with his family. Thank you so much for joining us. Iran has renewed its pledge to fight against terrorism, but at the same time it's saying that it will not cooperate with the U.S. or with this so-called alliance against terrorism. How do you read Iran's strategy today?
First of all, Jim, let me take once again this opportunity to express on behalf of myself and millions of peace-loving citizens of Iran our deepest sympathy for the tragedy that occurred on September 11th in the United States. Clearly, the situation that we are faced today is a question of whether or not the clerical regime in Tehran is even sincere in committing to a genuine fight against terrorism. Let us not forget that the regime in Iran has been one of the principal actors in harboring terrorist organizations, in fact training camps in Iran. And in fact, I think before anything else is done, we should challenge the regime in Tehran, if they want to prove how sincere they are in this, to immediately put an end in all those the financing of terrorist organizations, stop and shut down all the training camps in Iran, expel all the supporters and protagonists of terrorism from its own borders, promise to never hold again conferences of terrorist organizations in Tehran, stop this anti-American, anti-Israeli, anti-world rhetoric that has been fueling this radicalism and extremism for 22 years now, and in fact has been a source of inspiration for the bin Ladens of this world, and above all, stop the terrorism against their own population. Let's see what they will do on that, and then we can see how else there will be mutual interest.
Specifically, what terrorist groups do you think operate out of Iran today?
Well, specifically, I cannot name a particular organization, but it has been on the basis of track record and numerous reports that have linked.
What reports are we talking about?
Pardon?
What reports are we talking about in real time today?
Well, first of all, as far as it relates to this specific case, Iran has yet to be implicated. Let's be clear on that. And I'm not going to discuss hypotheticals. But basically, based on the track record, the main question is that when you want to deal with the regime in Iran, you have to be aware that the clerical regime has several times demonstrated its true intentions, and one should not buy into the convenient rhetoric and lip service that has been recently given by Tehran.